Hi, this is Alex from the customer service aid. How are you today? Great to hear. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking. So, how can I help you today?
I'm so sorry about that. I'll be glad to help you. Can I get your full name, phone number, and address to check in on that order?
What you just heard was a demonstration of a software known as Sonos. It's a startup for call center workers that can make their voice sound more American. Gee, I wonder why companies would have any interest in that. Now, if that concept seems familiar, that's because it is. The 2018 film, Sorry to Bother You, had a nearly identical premise. In fact, here's a clip from the trailer.
This is telemarketing. Stick to the script.
Hey, hello. Mr. Davison, Cassius Green here. Sorry to bother.
Let me give you a tip. You want to make some money here? Use your white voice.
My white voice.
I'm not talking about Will Smith's wife, like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer. This is Langston from Regal View.
As always, we'll be getting that out to you right away.
Now, going back to the real life software, Sonos, it's a startup founded by 3 former Stanford students. Sonos describes its approach as accent matching and advertises on its website that it can improve understanding by 31% and customer satisfaction by 21%. According to materials offered by the company to SF Gate, the company claims to have garnered about $132 million worth of funding thus far. So before I give you more details, Cenk, I'm curious what you think about this.
So I'm a little split on it, except for their BS explanation, which I found to be hilarious, which I'm going to break down for you in a minute. But they say that it, quote, improves understanding by 31% and customer satisfaction by 21%. So that's your, plain devil's advocate. So is it possible that people really do understand it better if you put it in an accent that is similar to theirs? Yeah, of course that's possible, right? And so is that gonna help customer service? Yeah, I guess it would help customer service. But then you're kind of doing it by erasing people's identity. That's uncomfortable. And really what you're really trying to solve for here is, you could have the same accent if you put the call center in Nebraska.
Yes,
but
they don't want to do that. Why don't they want to do that, Cenk?
Because it's cheaper to do it in Bangalore.
It's cheaper to exploit underpaid labor in another country. Let's be absolutely clear about what they do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there's a couple of ways to spin that one too. And folks in India also need jobs and they do speak English, right? And so they're taking advantage of that, and a lot of people outsource that way. But let's keep it real. It's outsourcing. That's the essence of this.
Yeah, and look, while I do see some libs make the argument that no, it's actually great that, labor's being exploited in countries like India, Bangladesh, China. They argue we're providing jobs for people who otherwise would be living in poverty. But don't try to put some PR spin on what's really taking place here. Companies in the United States are enjoying tax cuts, deregulation, but it's not enough for them. They also have to outsource the jobs because they want to save on labor so it doesn't cut into their profit margins. And listen, while this software might make it somewhat easier to understand, the problem is when you call a call center in another country and they're not really equipped to help you with what you need help on, right? It's not about the accent making it difficult. It's that sometimes it's difficult to just understand each other because it's not their first language, right? So you might ask a question and they don't even know what you mean. I've had that problem happen quite a bit. So they're trying to put a Band-Aid on it with this software. I don't think it's the end all be all solution. I do think it's better to have actual call centers here in the United States.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've got complicated feelings about the outsourcing thing, but okay, but back to this in particular. There's a lot of different ways that they put Band-Aids on it. I've actually had a couple of these calls in the last couple of days, been calling credit card companies and stuff. And it'll be somebody with an Indian accent, honestly, and they'll say, and I'm from Texas, and I'll think, interesting that you added that you're from Texas or California. It happened twice in a row, and I'm like, so they found a ton of Indians with an Indian accent in the middle of Texas and in the middle of California. Maybe, or maybe they told you to say that even though you're in Mumbai. Okay.
And so to me, it shows that companies want this software not because they're actually interested in enhancing communication between the customers and the call center. They're just worried about getting backlash for outsourcing the jobs to whatever country, right? Like they're obviously trying to lie to the customers about that.
Anna, that's a great point, because stating that you're from Texas or California when it doesn't appear that you are doesn't help the accent issue and the communication issue at all. But it does put a Band-Aid on, I'm outsourcing your job. Yep. Okay, so, okay. Now, when I saw that this was a story from Stanford grads who did a startup. First of all, which Stanford grad isn't doing a startup? Anyways, I was like, I'm sure that they're South Asian. And it turns out from their names, it looks like they are South Asian from their experience. And they say, oh, we worked at call centers. And I was like, really? You work at call centers? Then you went to Stanford. Interesting story, maybe. Anyways, and they say, look, we know it can be racist and all, and we're trying to lessen that. I was like, maybe. And then they gave this explanation, which I thought was hilarious. So let me break this one down for you, okay? So one of the guys who started it, Narayana, told Motherboard, I don't care about metrics. I think about mental health, employee satisfaction, retention, and overall employee happiness, which, by the way, I will now say are all metrics. Okay, in fact, the next sentence is, all those metrics are checked out for me. Okay, so wait, you do care about metrics. You just listed a bunch of metrics and then said you like those metrics. And earlier you had given stats about metrics, like 31%, 21%, all of those things were metrics. Okay, then Narayana continues. I strongly believe that once you keep your employees happy, all the business metrics will get better. So again, you do care about the metrics and the business metrics. You just think they're gonna improve if you do this trick. Okay, but let's keep going. So that's a secondary result of what we're trying to achieve. But the primary result for me is actually improving the lives of all of these agents.
Right.
Okay, now, maybe that's your primary motivation, although I would be dramatically surprised. But it ain't the primary motivation of the folks who gave you $132 million. The $132 million in investment wasn't like, oh, I hope that you make employees happier with our money. No, it was with the expectation that they would make very solid profits. So those business metrics are what they talk about 98% of the time in their board meetings, is my guess. Maybe they're the one exception or maybe the second exception, okay? But not usually how it goes.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.